About 3 weeks into the class, I found $15,000. I found that money, and we were immediately able to take the strategies that you gave and the suggestions to go ahead and pay some stuff off.
I never would have imagined in 3 months that I would pay off a little over $2,300. For the first time, I feel like I really have a plan, and I have the support and the tools that I need to make progress.
Communication changed. Your class put a different perspective on finances that we hadn't seen before.
The impact on our lives and what we're trying to do as a couple, we wouldn't be where we are if we hadn't come to you.
To see my guys pay off $100,000 in 6 months. But there were like several times where people have stopped me, and the weight that is lifted off of them and their family, and they've had like medical emergencies, and they've been able to just pay for. It's incredible.
Your members have paid off over $855,000 together. When you saw that number, what did that mean to you as a pastor?
I would be honest with you.
Welcome, everybody. Tonight is a special night. Tonight is not a seminar. Tonight is not a class. It is a reunion. We are celebrating a special, special milestone inside of the Earners Academy. Today, we have different stories from people who started with us from the beginning to who are now still with us and have achieved some major goals. And the goal of the Earners Academy has really come down to this. We wanted to help people achieve this special milestone. But we stand on 3 separate values inside the Earners Academy. That is care, clarity, and confidence. I want to care for each person and their finances, and showing that through our coaching, through our opportunity to be accountable, helping them be accountable with their finances. And then we want to provide clarity and showing them where they are and where they're going. And most importantly, we want to give them confidence when they leave the Earners Academy, confidence to have a system for their money, to be able to continue to help generations get out of debt. And so today is going to be special. It's not something, we're not doing a sales pitch here. We are celebrating something, a very crazy goal that we felt like the Lord put on our heart at the beginning of the year. And that goal was simply this. We wanted to help people eliminate $1 million in debt in 1 year. Now, we said, okay, that's going to be crazy. Are we going to get to this goal? It's going to be, very tough. However, the Lord had other plans, and we were able to do it in just 5 months in 2026. And so you're going to hear stories from people who have achieved this goal, people who have walked alongside the Earners Academy, and who we've got a chance to see their story behind the scenes and share their deepest, not necessarily darkest secrets, but just things that they've had, stresses, goals, but also just things behind the scenes on what their life looked like before the Earners Academy and what it is today. And so my first person I have a question for, I want to share a little bit of background story. So when we started the Earners Academy, it really started from just me deciding, hey, I'm going to tell people about finances. And so I ended up starting basically talking about credit repair and helping people with that, right? And then I ended up shooting a couple videos, and a friend, I can't even call him a client because he never paid me. However, he did end up trying out the Earners Academy for free, and this led to us being able to help him, which then led to this family being able to be our first client. Now, why they trusted us, we still don't know to this day, but we are so glad that they did. And so I want to first ask my first question to Elayna and Dillion Smith. And so here's my first question. There's no proof, right? You guys had, I'm just this guy that you heard about who never paid me. Remind you, those people never paid me. I love you, Rico and Kendra, by the way. Shout out to y'all. But, if y'all ever see this, just know I'm talking about y'all. And I'm going to send you an invoice for all those free sessions. However, but I want to ask this first question. What made you try something different and risk it all before there was any proof that this even worked?
I guess the only thing I can think of is desperation. And we were just at the end of our rope. We were tired of arguing. We were tired of literally living paycheck to paycheck. And so it had just gotten to this point of like, we've tried all this other stuff. We've tried apps. We've tried a spreadsheet. Not your spreadsheet, but a different spreadsheet. We've tried all these things and nothing was working, and it was just a constant thing. And so we tried it with you, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much that. In faith, there's a lot of you want to look for substance, you want to look for fruit. And so it just took Kendra and them to their little fruit that they produced and that was produced in them. And we're like, hey, We see it in them. There has been no fruit produced in anything that we've tried. And so why not? And like she said, the rest is history.
And y'all paid off how much?
$17,000.
Oh, wow. Well, hey, thanks for trusting me. I'm glad that the spreadsheet does work. So I'm glad to hear that. And so then from there, it changed, right? So you guys had your testimonial, and from there, it went from a person to a church. Pastor Scott Silcox, who is the lead pastor of the Rock Family Worship Center, which is where we are today. Shout out to the Rock. But your members have paid off over $855,000 together. When you saw that number, what did that mean to you as a pastor?
I would be honest with you. That's a pretty overwhelming number when you see something like that. But I think as a pastor, I start to recognize that it's not just $855,000. That's a lot of money, but it actually represents so much more. And I think the thing that I get most excited about is knowing the amount of pressure. I think people got their sleep back, people got rest back, got peace back. The things that they had been substituting their peace of mind and their security and their futures have been locked up in debt in such a way that as a pastor, it's just exciting to watch them get free in that area. I mean, like we talk about this all the time, like finances is such a critical piece to every single home. But when that thing is actually submitted and that thing gets under control and they learn principles, godly principles that help them manage their finances, it opens up so many more opportunities for them to get their health back, to get freedom, to do the things that they want to do, things that they want to be a part of, stuff that I think even at their church and in their homes and in their future plans, stuff that have been hindered. And so when I look up and I see that number, I don't just see the dollars. I'm seeing the hours they're getting back. I'm seeing all of that peace of mind come back. That's a huge win because in that place, you're seeing true discipleship that's really taking place. And nothing excites a pastor more is to see people grow in their faith, grow in their trust with the Lord. Because I think sometimes debt has a tendency to bring a stigma, and it causes you to hide. It causes you to change the way you do some things. And when you start to see that lift, you start to see all the other character qualities that they do have, things that are in them, and opportunities that they have probably missed because they've been under that amount of pressure. And so I think far and away, the number is amazing. But what I get to see on their faces, and when I get to think about their families, I get to think about some of them who have kids here, what they're modeling now, that will be generational for their kids later on. Huge win.
I want to say, thank you to you as well, which has now opened the door for other churches to implement what's going on here and being able to help more lives feel the same exact way. And so then that leads, we start individual to church and then now to corporate, which is funny to talk about. For a record here, when we originally started this was really only supposed to be for just people, which that never really changed, but it was hey, we want to work with just an individual person, we want to meet with them, which led from Dillion and Elayna's story to the church. And then we were in Braden Walker, we were in a Bible study group together, which just show you how full circle it is, where you work is now where you own the business. And so most owners, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is most owners think about payroll and not necessarily their team's personal debt, which I thought was very admirable as the person who's leading the charge. But what made you see their financial stress as something worth taking on?
First off, very good way to structure this because it really was. Because I saw their testimonial, and then the reason that I wanted to do it was because of the success that your group had been having, and that was really big for me. Is I wanted that for my guys and for everybody in my company. But it's tough to get people into a new church, especially a lot of those guys have their own home churches, stuff like that. And I had invited a couple guys. There is a stigma with really any blue collar worker, anybody that's in a trade, a lot of times they always complain about not having money or, but like when I started signing their paychecks, I'm like, you absolutely should have money. How is that possible? Like there were 2 guys who were always complaining about not having money, and, they had 6-figure, jobs. And it just didn't make sense at all to me. So when we went to lunch, it was just an idea, and I wanted a piece of what you were giving everybody, here at the church. I wanted that for my guys because, like, I warn all these young guys that I'm hiring, I'm like, there's going to be lots of big, shiny tool trucks coming through. Do not step foot on that because I've seen guys rack up some insane debt, with stuff that they don't genuinely need. But yeah, from there to see my guys pay off $100,000 in 6 months, that's genuinely, because you can see that burden, especially when like hot summer days or if it's cold or whatever, they're already not in good moods. But then whenever there's that extra burden, because a lot of those guys didn't look at their finances or their partners didn't, and this kind of like brought all the teams together in my business and, in their homes.
Well, hey, thanks again. You see how one yes goes from that was strategic
it was
here.
very smart.
So we thought this through because, one yes led to 2 that are now, we're working with some of the largest churches in America, but then also now some of the largest corporations, which we're so grateful for. But had you guys not been pioneers, that wouldn't be a thing. So really, really grateful for that. I want to transition to Danielle. I have a question for you. I know you've been a part of the program. You went through our class here at Finance in 5. And so I know we've had conversations. My question is this. What was the situation that made you finally say, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. I've been hearing this guy yap for 3 weeks. Let me see if it's actually legit. So what was the moment that you would say or situation that made you say, I'm going to give this a shot?
Okay, so I'm just going to back it up just for a second. A couple of years ago, like The Rock has always offered some sort of finance in a life group, finance class or budgeting class. And I've attended several of them, right? And so the last one that I did back in 2023, the fancy budgeting, I'm not even really sure how to explain it, but that was like the first time in my life that I actually felt convicted, like to tithe. Like before, it was just like out of obligation, like, oh, we should do this. You do good for 6 months and then you'd stop and something would come up. And so back in 2023, when I took that budgeting class, like my husband and I, we got serious about it. And like I actually felt the conviction. And so like Pastor Scott says, and everyone else, this is the one area where the Lord says, test me. And so I did. And when I tell you that the Lord opened up the windows of heaven, we got raises at work, like all types of stuff. I was able to give more money away, help my family, and do all of these things. But during that time, I was in graduate school, working full time, doing all the things, and I was not keeping track of what was going on. And so here we are getting towards the end of 2025. And my husband and I, we were talking about it. I was like, there should be more money. I know that there should be more money. I just don't know where it is. I was like, my 2 older boys are not on the payroll anymore. They are grown and married and gone on. I have not paid anything for them in over a year. So in reality, there should be more money, but we were still feeling like, all of our bills were being paid and we were not lacking, but I'm like, but there should be more money for me to give away. There should be more money for me to tithe, more money for me to do these things. And I just couldn't figure it out. And then all of a sudden, at church, they start talking about this Mission 310. I'm like, what is this, And so initially I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. But then when the infomercials about the Finance in 5 came up, I was like, ooh, I want to go to that. I think I should go. And then, like you said, more life groups start talking about it. And I was just like, okay, what do I have to lose? I know that the Lord is faithful. And I know that he still blessed me. Like, the money is there. I'm just not stewarding it right. And so I said, what do I have to lose? Let's go to this class and let's see if I can learn something new. And in the beginning, it was a little bit confusing, the spreadsheet. I mean, I know I had 1,000 questions. I was like, okay, just bear with me, Cam. I'm a doctorally prepared nurse. I have a lot of questions. My brain needs to understand. And he's like, no, it's the 7 accounts. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. And then, my husband wasn't really on board with it either. He was like, we're fine, we're managing. And I was like, but we're not, we're not. And so I did. I put it to the test. Cam sat with me. We got it all put in there. And literally about 3 weeks into the class, I found $15,000. I'm like, I knew it was there. I just didn't know where it was, but it was all over the place, And so I found that money, and we were immediately able to, take the strategies that you gave and the suggestions to go ahead and pay some stuff off. And so we did that. And then when we, structured our paychecks, we were able to pay even more off. And so, so
You guys
we're
paid
still
off a car early.
Yeah, we paid off 2 cars, actually. We paid off 2 cars, and then paid off a credit card, and then paid for our vacation. Because I told Cam, I said, we're going on the cruise. I don't know how.
With or without
I don't
my
right.
approval. She
I
did say
said, I don't know how this system works, but we're going on the cruise. I said, I turned 40 in November. I graduated with my doctorate degree, and my husband and I are celebrating 20 years of marriage. I'm going on the cruise. Like, we're going. I said, so however we need to work it out, just make sure I can pay it.
Account we need to make.
Yeah.
Make sure you go.
I was like, we're going. And I was able to pay for that too. So.
Man, hey, thanks again for, I was happy for all the questions to answer. So next question I have for Beth and Eric. You also were in the class, and I know we've had some conversations just about just different things financially. What would you say, what moment or what changed the moment you two decided to do this together?
Do you want me to talk about it? You want to?
Well, I was going to say the first thing that changed was her facial expression.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one who actually brought up, hey, let's go. I think we should take this class together. And I'm also the one who's been pushing off and saying, finances are fine. We don't really need to deal with it. And it's always been on her mind. And so when I actually brought up, hey, we should probably do this class, I mean, the look on her face was priceless.
I didn't really know I had a look, but for me, when we started the class, I would say the one thing that changed the most was obviously since he was driven to take the class, it played a role, but our communication changed, and it was open and gentle and easy. So your class put a different perspective on finances that we hadn't seen before.
Hey, I'm happy to have you on. Thanks so much for once again listening to me yap for week after week. This next guest, we actually call her in our class IKEA, and she knows exactly who I'm talking about. Just to give a short story about her, and I have this with clients all the time. Her name is Pernilla, but I was in IKEA. We had just got a new IKEA in Huntsville. And so when I see clients out, right, and they're shopping, and it's not on their budget that they're shopping, even though she didn't buy anything that day, but it's just the look of like, hey, I'm just in here. I'm just looking. And I was like, look, I'm just looking. Like, I'm just here to see what's going on. But it was a real funny moment just because I see it all the time with clients where they see me somewhere and they're like, I know we didn't discuss this, but I said, we're going to talk about it next month when I see you. So you have fun this month and then we'll talk about it. But just a question for you. One, thanks for being here, but you're just 3 months in. What made you decide to start in the first place?
Well, I have a huge mountain of debt, and for a long time I have tried to figure out ways to tackle it myself, and it just has felt so overwhelming and crippling, and I just didn't know what to do. And but I just knew God wanted me to trust him with it. but it also required me taking action myself. And so I actually heard of you, and so I looked up, I found all your videos, I watched the testimonials and everything, and so I said, well, I need to sign up for the Finance in 5 class. So I did that, and for the first time, I felt so encouraged and hopeful, just the first day in class. And so I signed up for Earners Academy, and for the first time, I feel like I really have a plan, and I have the support and the tools that I need to make progress.
Hey, and we're going to put IKEA on your budget for this month too. But thanks for that. Thank you for that. And I think, when you talk about people, everybody's story is different, right? Some are very dramatic at the beginning, and then some, it's a long race. This individual couple, it was a lot, very quick. Steve and Toya, you guys knocked out 9 credit cards in just 4 months. So for everyone who feels, my question is, for everyone who feels that they're buried in plastic, or in plastic meaning credit cards in this case, take us through what that looked like at the beginning, and then where you were after you paid off those 9.
We didn't have any structure. We were just like, oh, we see this, we see that, we see that. Let's use the credit card. You know what I'm saying? And so when we got with you and you showed us what we needed to do, it completely changed the way we live today. And again, I'm so thankful for you, because without you, bro, we would be drowning. But it's just, like I said before, just do it, because the impact on our lives and what we're trying to do as a couple, we wouldn't be where we are if we hadn't come to you. I'll just say that.
I appreciate y'all. It's like I said, some are slow and steady. Y'all got to it very early and got it done, and so really excited to continue to be a part of y'all's journey. And once again, I'm glad that the spreadsheet works. This next person, I will say, we were just talking about this before, because before y'all's yes, actually, this actually really started with Althea. So about a year and a half ago, she was sitting at my house saying, hey, we were all just hanging out as a group of friends. And she was like, hey, Karen, I've been seeing your stuff on Instagram. You should start this small group, this finance small group. And I believe my response was, nobody's going to come to the small group. Nobody's going to listen. So it's kind of funny now, but to see, because she saw it before she saw it. So I'll send, a royalty check to you when all this blows up at some point. But you were like, hey, I just want to learn how to budget. I want to understand what's going on. And I think what was, I joke with you all the time, because most people think, oh, hey, I'm coming to the Earners Academy to pay off debt. Your biggest thing was saving money. Like, hey, I want to have an emergency fund. I will say, I was like, hey, yeah, you can buy a country if you save enough money, all those things. But I want to say for the win was, hey, I want to have a 6-month emergency fund. And it's simply really in about 3 to 4 months you were there. What made that your priority specifically?
I think what made that my priority was just being fresh out of college, being a young adult, and you see, things on social media or just, in family and friends, and you see the amount of debt that people are in. And of course, there's general consumer debt and all of that, but there's also life just happens. Your car messes up, some have to take off work, or you might have to help out a family member. You might have to move, someone might unfortunately have to transition from their job. And I wanted to make sure that starting out young, that I really set myself up for any of those things coming in, so that way I can maybe prevent myself from getting in so much credit card debt. And also too, just being able to know that setting forth that independence of saying, hey, I do have this, but also it allowed me to really understand, you can make small steps towards having a savings, and that it doesn't have to be, I'm putting up this massive amount. Because when you're fresh out of college, you're doing entry-level jobs. You may not be making as much money, but it was important for me just to have that goal to anticipate the things that may happen in the future, but also still, at the end of the day, knowing that ultimately God is the one who's truly providing for me. So there's also that balance of, yes, you can prepare for the future and have a savings, but he's still in control at the end of the day. So that
And I
was
think it was
just
big to see, because I know when you were building that savings, you were contemplating moving at the
yes,
time.
yes.
And you're like, hey, well, I have this money, but also I need a little bit more. So is it okay? And I remember, what was funny about you, I was like, hey, you're fine. Like, you can use a little, well, I don't want to go under. I'm like, it's okay. I promise you, you can refill this thing back up. But I was glad to see that, like, you even had it to be able to move, to make that choice. And so welcome to Huntsville, and enjoying it. So I want to kind of shift gears here, and talk a little bit about practicality. So, a lot of questions that I get asked is like, how does this happen? And it obviously looks different for every person here. Danielle, I want to ask you, so you paid off $18,000 in 3 months. What would you say is, how did you make that happen so fast?
Okay, so like I said before, it's using the spreadsheet to figure out where everything is. And so it's not enough to just write down the debts that you have, but you also need to look at what finances do you have, especially for people who have like hobbies. And so I am a nurse. I'm a full-time nurse. Now I'm a full-time professor. But one of my hobbies is I braid hair. Like, I know, crazy, right? But I braid hair. I enjoy doing it. It's effortless. It's thoughtless. No one's dying. Like it's a real easy thing to do. But when you have a hobby and you're not keeping track of how much money you're making from the hobby, it's just kind of all over the place. On top of having the goal of saving, so it's like, okay, one of the accounts, I forgot that I had set it up to put like $100 over into the PayPal. Like when I start looking at all the accounts, I was like, I have $1,200 in the PayPal. And so I think the reason why it happened so fast for us is because once we got organized with the spreadsheet, and then looked at, this is how much money we actually make, and I could see what my surplus was, I was able to take that along with all these little monies that I found, in all these different accounts, and get them all centralized in one place. And then we discuss what would be the best thing to pay off first. And sometimes it's not always the credit card with the highest interest rate or, this or that. Like, you were able to look at our situation and say, I think this will be an easy thing to pay off, this here. And then two, just having the mindset that like we doing it, like we're going to do this thing. And so, cause I could have easily said, oh, I found this 15,000, let me hold on to it. Or let me put that in the savings for my rainy day. I could have done that, but it was more important for us to go ahead and pay those cars off and, and do some of those things. And so I would say the number one thing is having the mindset that this is what we're doing. And then the second thing is getting organized, because if you think you've got it all in your head, it's not right in your head. You have to put it down on the paper and see it, because our minds will tell us things, it's like, oh yeah, it's fine, everything's good, until you write it all down and you're like, oh yeah, no, that's not right. So I think just getting organized with the finances.
I always say, with the Smart 7 planner, sometimes a lot of times people like actually have to face the elephant and like see, okay, wait, I do have like 20 credit cards I didn't even realize. And so, which we've seen a lot. I mean, I've had clients that have had over 35 credit, which I didn't even know was a thing. I'm like, dang, how you get approved that much? Like, you must have got them all at one time. But no, I think I think it was good to know. One of the things I will say that we try to be different about is, obviously there's a lot of different ways that you can do things, but everybody's situation is different, right? Like, okay, hey, and everybody's, let's say, hobbies or things that they like to do when they have money is so different, which is why I try to be in that person's life to know, okay, hey, this is your situation. I know. And then you can just tell, right? So like, I know that if you like to do certain things or you like to buy purses or whatever, I'll try to reward a client with their own money, not with debt. But hey, you pay off this card, let's go get you something that you want to do. And I think it's just situational with that. And so, one, thanks again and congrats on all your success. And so my next question, in kind of light of this, Beth and Eric, one thing you all have expressed to me is that you've tried other stuff, right? You've tried other programs, you've heard other financial influential people in the finance space. How did being a part of the Earners Academy change your view of coaching, and what made it so different?
So I'm the budget maker and have been since day one. And he's the one that pays all the bills, but he didn't ever look at the budget. So it was, and we just never worked together. I would say, I'm making a budget, and okay. And we'd look at it maybe one time. And we've done every financial class out there, method, and I'd make the budget and he'd keep paying the bills, and it just wasn't working because we weren't working together. We didn't have a system that worked. He's very technical, loves to do everything on his iPad or computer or phone, and I'm still pencil and paper. Probably will always be, but so it was hard for us to join efforts. And so I've done the Excel spreadsheet before, but when you're trying to track finances, it's kind of like Danielle said, there's so many things that you have to track, and to know where everything is going is very difficult these days. Where before we had one cable bill, now we have 6 subscriptions to watch the few things that we can watch, right? And or more subscriptions. And so our money goes out to so many more places now, and it's all online, all digital. And so we don't see it. We don't track it. And I've done a budget where I've had to track all the transactions, and you have to log your transactions or, sign up with your bank to have them, import it or whatever. And trying to track that many transactions is impossible. Like, I did it. It was hours every week trying to track transactions, just not knowing where they're coming from and going. And like if something's being paid through PayPal or something's being paid, you're getting money from Venmo, and all the different ways that money comes and goes now. So when we saw your class, we knew that this was the opportunity to try another system, and we were nervous. But I was nervous. I don't know if he was nervous. But I was nervous. But when you explained it, and it was like, what? Why didn't I ever think of that? Because it makes so much sense. And it tracks everything, because you don't have to do it now. You don't have to track every single thing. It's already pre-planned. And you just fill a bucket, and it does what it's supposed to do. And you fill another bucket, and it does what it's supposed to do. And it's so much easier and so much lighter on the two of us.
Thank you so much. Well, if you are watching this and you're wondering what spreadsheet, since we're showing this on YouTube or wherever we're going to be showing it, you can check out this video too, by the way. It does work. So one, thanks, and I'm glad to know that it is still working. I know everybody, and you won't have to admit it, you were talking about her facial expression earlier. I get the biggest facial expression, 7 accounts. Like, what? I'm like, listen, just try it. And then if it does not work, go try something else. But it has worked. I'm glad that it continues to work for people. And so I want to pivot a little bit to the other side in Dillion and Elayna. So when you guys started, what would you say was the dream on the other side of the $17,000 that y'all paid off?
I think peace. That was the first thing that really came to my mind. Reading this question or whatever. So we were newlyweds. We bought a house. As soon as we got in the house, $20,000 on our house. Then got pregnant, and then insurance stuff didn't take, doctor bills poured in while still trying to pay credit cards off. And so there was just a lot. And then, like I said, we were still like all within a year of marriage. And so we were still trying to work on things of our own. And then you add the conversation of finances. And so it's hard. You hear that, like you hear the word financial peace all the time. And so just peace in our finances, peace in our marriage, peace in our house. And then once we just, that is one thing that I can honestly say that we have now is we did get our peace back. Paid everything off. We're still paying things off, but we have a system and we know we have a goal now. We know how to do it. And now we can do it, laugh and carry on. Things happen in our life. We like get upset about it. It's like, you know what? Hey, but we're good though. Like there's still that peace in walking in the darkness. And it's just cool. Then it was like, it was hard. It was hard for her to bring things to me. It was hard for me to bring things to her. And now there's just an ease. When anything comes up, there's just ease now. And it's just cool.
Do you have something? Are you going to say something? Okay. One thing I will say, and I was just thinking about this, and I don't think I've ever thought of it in the many interviews that we've given and in the many
Y'all are Earners Academy celebrities.
Yes. Which is fine. It's fine. One thing, reading this question, one thing that was on the other side of the dream was full surrender. Because that's one thing that even Pastor Scott talks about. Like that is, for some reason, that is finances is the number one thing that is the hardest thing to fully surrender to the Lord. And, you know, you dedicate your children, you know, and which it's crazy because it's like, Lord, I fully surrender my children to you, which is your most prized possession. But it is the hardest thing to fully surrender. And I remember we paid off the last big thing, which was my car. And it was like, oh my gosh, we can breathe. And then it was like, now we surrender. But then that's not how it's supposed to be. And so at all. And so within the first month, I'll never forget, within the first month, it was our first call and I was getting over the flu with you. And you were like, so how are you liking it? And I was like, I feel like we finally have been able to breathe and we can fully surrender everything now. And so now it's like, we give more in our tithes. That was the first thing that once we finally reached a point of like, you know, we felt a peace about giving what the Lord asks until we paid off our goal. So we paid off our goal. We had to get me a new car because I wrecked my car. But it was second nature to us. Like it was a specific Sunday and I'll never forget, we sat there after Pastor Scott was preaching on tithing, and we sat there and we were like, all right, now is when we felt the release to be able to finally give more. And nothing's changed since. We just do it. Yeah. It's calculated in our head and we go, or maybe use a calculator, but we just go for it. So I think the biggest dream was just being able to fully surrender and say like, Lord, nothing I have is mine. My home is not mine. My kid is not mine. Everything belongs to him. And so being able to finally not only say it and it not be tongue in cheek. It was saying it and being able to know like, no, Lord, this is yours. I trust you with it. No matter, you do what you want to do with it.
One of my favorite moments with y'all, it's actually crazy enough. It's not when y'all paid off all y'all's debt. It's actually the day, y'all probably remember this, but I remember it vividly because I think when I think about the program, I'm more excited. This sounds crazy, but like I love when people are a part of the program, but I love to hear that they're still using the system after. But it was a day that y'all came. I don't know. I think I asked y'all to do a testimonial again. And you were like, hey, our garage broke and like we need to go get this fixed. But I think the thing that I noticed about that day was like y'all were not freaking out. You was like, hey Cam, we're gonna come do the testimonial. By the way, we do have the money to pay for this. And like to me, I was like, okay, that's the whole goal. Like I hate that happened, but I was like, I'm glad that y'all have the money to be able to do it versus, most cases it's like, well, hey, I got to use my credit card. I just got out of debt, but we had the money to be able to do it. And so it was just a really good moment to know that, like, y'all weren't in the program anymore at that point. You're like, hey, I think we can, everybody sends me this same email. Hey, I think we can cut the umbilical cord. I'm like, you don't have to be so dramatic. Like, just, hey, it was great. We had a good time. Yeah, like, it was fun. But that was like one of my favorite moments to know that, like, you guys still had peace when something like that happened.
Well, hey, we're 2 years in, 3 years in. I don't know, 2.5 years in, and we don't directly work with you anymore, but we still use it.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad to hear that. So we've heard a lot about what's happening in households in the kitchen at the kitchen table, but I want to bring it back to the shop floor with the nice shiny trucks. So, Braden, what would you say you've noticed in your shop and your business around your employees' focus, attitude, and how people show up now that you feel like they're getting on top of their actual money?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is really whenever you came by and we did the whole thing and we got everybody set up, and my biggest fear was that nobody was actually going to buy in. So then when people started buying in and I started getting reports and like this many people are actually doing it and this is what we're looking at so far, it was crazy. So that I tried to be pretty hands off. Like I connected the two parties together, and but there were like several times where people have stopped me and like the weight that is lifted off of them and their family, and they've had like medical emergencies and emergency surgeries that they've been able to just pay for, it's incredible. And I think the biggest thing that it had impacted was like a lot of culture buy-in. Like, I do think that presenting this service to the company, it was an expression of how much I cared for them. Yeah. But it also seeing them buy in, because I can throw whatever and, if nobody does it, nobody does it. But seeing them buy in and do it, I think it's brought a lot of people closer together, because I've seen them going over like budgets with each other, and yeah, so it's like it's a big team thing. And then whenever I give them like the quarterly numbers and that number keeps getting higher and higher, yeah, it's a huge culture like win.
It's always funny. So I remember the first time I came, because I tell this story when I go to another corporation, because I'm like, hey, we want to get all these employees. And I've always had this like disclaimer. I said, hey, listen, everybody's not going to do it at the beginning, but I'm telling you what's going to, and it has been proven right every time. It's going to take one coworker to come in and be like, hey, I paid all $10,000 and like, dang, maybe I should listen to or buy into the service. And it just slowly starts picking up. But then now like you were saying, you have your whole team that's like, okay, all right, I'm not going to just miss out. If my coworker is getting out of debt or getting in a better situation, I might as well just do it anyways, and I, like I said, I commend you, because when we sat down, you're like, hey, I just want my guys to be taken care of. I know I'm doing my best to work to grow the business, but I also want to make sure that they're okay going home. And so I echo that to every CEO or executive I talk to, like, hey, this guy's a standard. You may not know about him, but he's the standard when it comes to making sure that his employees are taken care of. And so I want to say thanks again for pioneering that. I want to switch gears again. So Pernilla, aka IKEA. So question for you. So even this early in the process, being a part of the Earners Academy, what has felt different already for you?
I'm actually surprised what a big difference the small changes, I feel like they're small changes that I have made, has really paid off. I've paid off. I never would have imagined in 3 months that I would pay off a little over $2,300. So I'm just really amazed by that. And I love using the budget planner. I kind of have a visual in my mind of what's in my accounts. And I feel like everything is really organized. But yeah, so I used to think that I had to, get another job, more income, to make up the difference. But having a budget, organizing my finances just helped me stay on track. And I'm surprised that I had the extra money that I did to pay.
To go to IKEA.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you have
I've
it too.
actually just bought one item there, and it was for Lazarus.
You did say that. I will give you that. So one, I'm glad that it's working, and congrats on paying off the amount of debt that you have in a short amount of time. Althea, I want to come to you. What would you say financial security means to you now versus a year ago?
I think I would say that financial security now means consistency even in transitions, because I think it's one thing to work really hard and save up this amount of money or pay off debt, but when you can see that you're being consistent with it, and that even when you move, or in my situation, your car starts having issues every single month, large amounts, and you're moving, you're trying to adjust, and I decided to go back to grad school, so there's expenses there, and being consistent in my financial goals, even when that was going on, was just, it made me feel like, okay, I do have a hold on this. But also at the same time, it was just such a reminder of, even in your faith, like the Lord is there all the time, through the good, through the bad. He just wants us to be consistent and be in a relationship with Him in the same way He wants us to be a good steward of what He gives us. And being able to save, and when something happens, say, okay, I saved this amount of money 6 months ago so I can take care of this. So now when I'm, throwing my friend a baby shower, or I'm a bridesmaid in a wedding, I'm not thinking, oh my goodness, I can't do this, trip, this wedding, and fix my car. I didn't have to choose between something I needed and someone I loved. Yeah. I was able to just do both. And I think that is something that, when I think about financial security, those are the things that I think about.
Put that on the shirt there. I like that.
A good little one-liner for you.
Thanks for sharing that. I want to pivot before we come to a close here in a second. One of the things I think that's really important to me, for every client, whether they believe in the Lord or not, is I want to increase their capacity to be able to give. Now, the giving can be, of course, I know where I would love for it to go for them, whether it's in the local church or if it's a nonprofit that they're passionate about, or a family member. I mean, I've had people who have made line items in their budget for maybe their cousin or an aunt, or trying to help them. And so I want to pivot. Y'all were very early, but I was like, hey, I'm really excited now that we've got some margin to be able to give more, to tithe more. So how was eliminating debt and the new capacity for you to be able to give, how did it make you all feel?
Oh, it made me feel great, because I give because He gave it to me. It's not mine. And I'm that person. I see you on the corner. Let's go get something to eat. You know what I'm saying? It's just in my heart to do that. But it's not. I'm not doing it today.
You can. Listen, you got famous off of that last time.
No. Help me out, babe. Help me out.
You got it.
I'm not. Nope.
You got it.
You want the money shot? No. Oh man, that's just.
It's gonna be Beth today. She already got hers. These are not paid actors, by the way. I just want to let that be known.
I mean, I think for me, just my pastor, his heart for the community, and just it was poured into him, pours out into the congregation. And I feel like, okay, it's coming now. Just being here for as long as I've have been, and seeing transition from Pastor Russ to Pastor Scott, and things change, but the main goal is the main goal, to love people. And they can have it all, because it's not mine. You know what I mean? And until He called me home, that's what I'm going to do. So, I mean, mic drop. But that's all I got for you, brother.
I appreciate it. Well, you got anything? Okay. All good. So Pastor Scott, I wanna ask you this. So talk to me a little bit about the connection you see between. I mean, you hear Steve share this, share his heart about it, but talk to me about the connection you see between people getting free financially and having the capacity to give freely.
Super important. Like, first of all, I'm so proud of all of you. You're just crushing, amazing. I love the testimonies. I love the care that you're being intentional about making a difference. And this is like a big part of the battle. It's just like committing to it and being consistent with it. I'll say thank you to you as well, Cam. Early on, like Braden, I mean, we're just looking around saying like, I want to see more financial freedom for our people. It's important to me. It's important for us to be a culture that's part of our culture as people who can be freed up so that when the opportunity comes to give or to be a part, that every single person gets an opportunity to do that. And it's hard. It's hard because I find that real generosity breaks out when fear loses its real grip on people. And that fear usually happens because their burden of the day-to-day could be decisions that were made, and it's a consequence for the decisions that you've made, right? Which is for most of that. Could be an emergency, though, that's got you in a lot of debt. Well, when that becomes the primary focus of the day, as a pastor, it doesn't matter how big or how great or how grand the vision is God gives. If you throw that on people who are already drowning, what are we going to accomplish together? Then we have to get more intentional about the little details that allow us to get in position for when God does give a vision, the people can get behind it. And the truth is that we all know that it's the Lord's. It is His, right? He gives it. He gives us the ability. It is His. But He's using people, right? He's got to get through people what He's trying to do. And so what I like about what I see with financial freedom for our people is there becomes margin, right? Where there was no margin. There was no opportunity. They just didn't, what are we going to do? We have a compassion towards something, but not the ability to actually act on it. The other thing we don't want to do is have them act on it irresponsibly either. Put themselves in more debt or more guilt even to having a commitment that they can't follow through on or something like that. And this is a cycle that you see in churches all the time because we want to get what God wants done, and we can make it sound super spiritual, but it can be irresponsible. And so what this allows people to do is to kind of get margin back. And then you see a shift in the mindset. And this is what I've seen. There's a shift from scarcity to stewardship. We talk about this all the time. Like, we're not owners, we're stewards, right? The biblical kingdom model is stewardship. What I feel like financial freedom does is it gives people the freedom to steward well that God's placed in their hands. Because of that, now in that position, we can have vision to reach our communities. We can have vision to expand in next generation ministry development. We can think beyond the four walls and look out and say, what is possible for the body of Christ, and what can we successfully, creatively do as a collective, as a group, instead of the 1 or 2 or the 10% or the 8% that usually carry that financial load. The truth is it's a responsibility for the body. It's for all of us. Everyone gets an opportunity to be a part of it, but not unless there's financial freedom. That burden will speak louder than the burden of wanting to meet a need. We want to silence fear, and we want to see freedom back in our people. That's what this has done. And when I look in, hear the stories, and I hear the amazing debt that they've been able to tackle, I think the last part of that is it builds like a supernatural confidence. Like, what you thought wasn't possible is possible in 3 months. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually doing it. Yeah. And it's here. And this program shows me how it's done. It gives me the confidence to move forward. It opens up relational divide. I mean, we're seeing relationship communication is getting better over what? Finance is getting better. You found a few $100, right? And now you can talk, right? It's amazing what just a little bit of progress can bring out in the confidence in who you are. And that isn't just in your marriage, but as a single, right? As knowing, hey, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm prepared for. And that confidence in knowing that you're on track to accomplish all that God is actually seated in your heart to do. It's not just what the church is doing. We do best as a church when we see our people get in position to reach their God-given potential and their goals. And what happens is it reciprocates. All of a sudden, they're accomplishing things that are in their life. They're seeing their families thrive. And then they look over into the church and say, I wonder what we could do collectively that could really make a kingdom impact. That to me is a goal worth giving for. That's worth the investment. It's worth the time just to see that break the cycle of what churches have had to deal with in the past. So I'm excited to see what God's doing, and I'm thankful that He's using you to be a part of it.
Hey, you got $1 million coming here at home.
Yes, I do.
We're a few months away, so I will say to piggyback off of that, I think one of the things that I tell this to every pastor, every person I talk to, whether it's Braden, whether it's anybody else, what's been so cool to see, and this may get me in trouble for clickbait here, but I actually never, since I've been coaching, have ever said anything, and you guys can attest to it. I don't ever have to say anything about giving. But what I naturally have seen is people already have the heart to give. They just want the capacity to be able to do it. So I normally don't even have to say, hey, like in anybody who's sitting, I skip over it intentionally, and I'll say, hey, I know I'm not tithing. Hey, that's between you and the Lord. I'm here to help create the capacity. But then once the capacity comes, now you're, hey, there's something going on at church, or there's somebody I want to help. Now it's there to be able to make that decision without having to think about it. And yes, could I preach it like crazy and say, hey, yeah, you should be doing this, or I know you don't have any margin, but let's put it on a credit card. Like, no, that's irresponsible. So let's work on how we can do it, how we can at least get you somewhere. Like, and it just naturally happens to where most of the time I haven't had to say anything. And I think what's fun about my job, because I love you both, and y'all are both in executive positions, is the things that people won't say to you, they'll say it to me, or I can say it to them and say, hey, because it could come off as the leader, right? Like, oh, they're trying to sway me this way. And it's like, nah, see, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm just here to help you. But I think that's what I love so much, to take that off of y'all, to say, okay, hey, this is what's really going on, because I'm a numbers. Hey, look, buddy, I see you got it, because I can see it. I literally can see that it's there, or that there's opportunity for you to be able to do it. And we can have the conversations, which is why I love the class, because I get so many questions about tithing that they probably would never ask you, because not that they don't like you. We love you. But I'm just saying.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, that we love you. But I'm just saying that, like, okay, hey, Cam, although he goes here, he's a neutral party. He doesn't really have anything to do with this. Or, hey, I don't want to ask my boss about this because, maybe something will happen to me. I can't fire you, big dog. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't tell you what's going on with your finances, but I do love that I can hope to be an extension for y'all to communicate that. And so when we wrap up, I have 2 questions, and this can kind of be round robin. We'll keep it about a minute apiece. What was one? Well, let me say this. We set out to eliminate $1 million in a year. You collectively have done it. And the people who are not here today, thank you again for that. You did it in 5 months. What does it mean to you to be a part of that? Doesn't matter who goes.
It makes me feel proud for everybody, because carrying that burden for so long, we all know what it's like. So.
Not all at once.
It makes me feel proud too. I feel like I'm part of the cool kids club. Like, it's like, yay, I'm part of the cool kids. And I just remember even, just hearing you guys' testimony in the beginning, and I was like, man, I want that to be me. Like, I want to be a part of that, that team, to say it, because I think, like you said, it gives me credibility to go out to talk to other people like, hey, you just should come do it. And you want to know why? Because we eliminated $1 million, So if you want to be part of the cool kids club, come over here with us.
I think for me, even though my goals were a little bit different and they were focused on saving, it's really encouraging, because now that I'm at the age where I'm starting to get up a little bit more debt, just, building credit, all those kind of things. And, going back to grad school, that brings in more debt. But to see that, even though that wasn't my main goal, debt was still something I'm working on. And to see that if I put these action steps and these strategies and the tips you're giving me. And even though sometimes you're having to text me to remind me different stuff, or we get on a meeting and you're like, have you done this yet? I told you to do it last time. And staying
It's gotta be nice when I say my, you know.
But just seeing that even if I stay consistent, I can do this. And I think it's just a reminder that no matter where you are in your life, whether you're young, old, single, with kids, whatever your life stage may be, you can start somewhere. And I think sometimes people feel like financial literacy, oh, it's only, oh, I should have started when I got this job, or I should have started when I had this amount of money. You can start anywhere at any time. You just need to take the first step.
I've told you this before, but I think one thing for me was you were blessed to be a blessing. And I think for us, it was, there are things that happened in your life that you never knew that this was attainable. And so I think for us, for me specifically, it's, yes, it's a blessing to be able to finally breathe again, but it's also very, very, very rewarding for us to see you walk out in your calling. Because it's one thing we've said is we value our friendship with you, not even on the in terms of what you've helped us do. Like, we consider you a genuine friend, but in addition to that, it's also the people that you've been able to impact. Like, for us, or for me specifically, like, I am able to, yes, we can give references all day long, but they're going to have to step out in faith just like we did. I'll come back.
It's very humbling, because $1 million, like, that's a massive number. And so in the church, you always hear the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. So when you hear that, it's like, oh, he did it this way, so he's going to do it the exact same way to me, right? That's not the case. He can do the same thing that he did for me and for you, but it's not always going to look the same. And so I know what the Lord has done in my life spiritually, and I know what he has done in my life financially. And so it's very humbling to be able to see other people be free as well. It's an honor to be a part. Definitely not prideful and boastful, like, oh, look at what we know. It's very humbling. Because
we're the first, though, so you got a little bit of bragging rights. You do have a little bit.
Yes, but it's like we couldn't have done it without him. And so all glory to him. And obviously what she said, just thank you for you and your faithfulness, and to be able to step out and not be afraid, and listening to friends, and just like, hey, look, the Lord has given me this gift. Why not? And it's just very humbling to be a part.
That's a few people.
I remember what I was going to say. Can I finish?
Yeah,
so sorry.
go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I probably beat around the bush, but mine was like, it's a blessing, because you were, like I said at the beginning, you were blessed to be a blessing. And so for this to be able to come full circle, like, you're giving us the credit, but I want to take the time to give you the credit too. And so, and I think I may have said this like when we first started working with you, but there's doors that have now been opened that you never thought were going to be opened. And so to be the catalyst group, I'm going to include y'all because y'all were in the testimony video with us, okay? And so to be like, I do not like being singled out, but to be a part of this $1 million group, or the 500,000, like, it starts somewhere, but to be a part of that, and then to now see and know who you're working with now. Like, you came and told us the other day, or a couple months ago, and I really did think you were like pulling our leg or something. Like, I thought you were kidding. But well, no, but like that just attests to the faithfulness of the Lord. And you know, like what Danielle said earlier, like, test him and he's gonna prove himself. Yeah. So it's been really cool.
Well, happy $1 million birthday. Last question, and once again we can round rob it. What's one thing you would say to the next person about starting this journey? So they already missed the 1 million, so I hate that for you. But there's still 2 million, 3 million, 5 million to pay off. So if you want to be a part of that crew, there's still time. But what would you say to the next person about starting their journey? I love how y'all are all, I don't care who goes. Yes.
Just do it. That's been the same thing. I mean, we get this question every time, every interview, and it's the same thing. Just do it. Actually, our daughter's daycare manager, it works with you, and one thing she even told me, she was like, we're kind of hesitant because they are both self-employed. So she owns a daycare, he owns his own contracting business, and I was like, just do it. He's gonna take care of you, and he's gonna, I don't know if you're a believer or not, but he's gonna take care of you whether you are or not. It's not about that, but it is he doesn't just throw you to the wind, and it's very scary at first. The 7 accounts are very scary. Disclaimer. But it's worth it, and it's and that's the other thing. Just do it because it's worth it. Yeah. The peace is worth it. Yeah. The growth in your marriage, if you're married, is worth it. The ability to bless others is worth it. Everything that you're able to do and everything that everybody has said tonight it's all worth it. And ultimately, giving it back to him is worth it.
I would say just for communication alone in a marriage is helped so much. So if that is one part of your struggle, just do it because it's amazing. It just the way your system took our 2 strengths, his digital strength, which I don't have, and my ability to budget, like figure it all out, it put the 2 together. And we just I don't think either one of us expected it. So just give it a chance and do it. Yeah. It's amazing.
I hope Nike doesn't sue us for using their yeah, but yeah. We'll put it there. Wait.
I'll just say one thing. I was talking to her earlier before we got started and was just saying I kind of, akin your program to, everyone's probably been on like a weight loss journey, and there are some people that are very rigid, like you can't have this, you can't do that, you can't do that, but I never felt like through this journey you've told me, even when you said maybe not that, it wasn't in a way where I felt like I was being deprived of anything. And so I think, compared to other programs that I've tried, this one just feels very realistic. It's like this is my life, and it's the strategy, the spreadsheet. Now, it is scary at first, once you get it all together. And so my husband is an accountant. And so when I first started talking to him about the accounts, he was just like, he was just kind of, he was just like, all right, just carry on, Danielle, whatever you're going to do there. And I was just like, no, it's going to work, babe. I promise. Because, the people on the testimony, they said it, but, and so his poor little accountant brain was just like, oh, okay. Like I don't know about this, but what I think what ultimately got him on board was, he's just like, oh, well, we can still do this. I'm like, yes, there's a pot for that. Like, we've got to, we can put the fun money over here and we can do this and do that. And so I just appreciate that it wasn't so rigid. So if you're thinking about doing the program, I promise it's not going to be like you're trying to lose those last 30 pounds and they tell you to only eat sweet peas or something. Like, you'll get to have rice and, and put butter in it, so you can have the occasional donut, but ultimately either you can, get out of debt quickly, like commit to it and like put your all into it, or you may want to take the scenic route because you're still trying to figure it out. But either way, Cam and his team are going to make sure whichever journey you're trying to go, he's going to be right there with you and help encourage you along the way. So like everyone else said, just do it. Just do it.
No ramen noodles in 1998.
That's right.
I'll add one last quick thing. But I would say go for it, and let go of the guilt and shame. I think sometimes when you start a financial journey, you're thinking about, oh my goodness, I have all this debt, or I need to save X amount, or I have these unhealthy spending habits, or you just might just be existing with no plan in place. Just start somewhere. And at the end of the day, whatever your lifestyle is, whatever your goals are, we all have things we need to work on when it comes to financial freedom. So I would just encourage anyone just to take a leap of faith, move forward, and don't compare your financial journey to someone else's. I think that can be really hard. No matter where you are in life, you might see someone who's able to do this, and you might not be there yet, but that's okay. You're better than where you were yesterday. You're better than where you were 6 months ago. So I think that's just my caveat of just do it and let go of guilt and shame, because every day that you don't do it is another day that you're getting further away from your goals.
Thank you. So yeah, I was about to say you got a couple of T-shirts we need to make after this. Done a great job. Anybody else? Not, we're all good. Well, I want to close with this. First, I want to say thank you once again to everybody. I was praying that I got through this without crying. It'll probably happen in a car after this, but it is okay. But seriously, thank y'all so much for being a part of it. I know it's, like I said, y'all could be anywhere tonight. Y'all have heard me talk enough all semester. So I do really appreciate this. And to close, here's what I want to do. One, $1 million is the headline, right? That's what we're here for. That's here we're to celebrate. But at the end of the day, freedom is the goal. And that's the stories that you've heard today. And so if you're somebody that's saying, hey, I don't know anything about this little spreadsheet, 7 accounts sounds crazy, I don't know if it works, shout out to Phil Knight. Just do it is the best way I'm going to be able to explain it. But I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to today. And thank you for listening to everybody's story. And we'll see y'all later. On 3, we'll do 1 million. 1, 2, 3.
1 million.